Red leather, yellow leather.
The
Red
skeleton
leather, yellow
was
leather.
denied a bank loan. The skeleton was denied a bank loan. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Village Films podcast. My name's Caleb, and as always, I'm joined by David, also known as David. Today, we're going to be talking about what it's like to work as a directing duo. This is just my opinion. I'm a filmmaker.
Are you guys videographers?
Who cares?
All right, so working as a directing duo, why don't we talk about maybe some famous directing duos, because I have them listed here. Obviously, one of the most famous, the Russo brothers.
Sure.
Major, some of our favorite Marvel films, billions of dollars. I think they've talked about their process a little bit on YouTube. That's pretty interesting. The Coen brothers, obviously, when you hear their name, you know they've done No Country for Old Men, tons of great films. I didn't know this. The Wachowskis, have you ever heard of them?
Mm-mm.
They directed, I think it's a brother and a sister. They did The Matrix.
Oh, the original?
They were somehow on The Matrix. I don't know if, yeah,
Wow.
that's what ChatGPT told me. The Safdie brothers, Uncut Gems,
Uncut Gems.
Right.
Good Times. They Must Be Locked In with A24. And then, obviously, the Duffer brothers.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually think
Most of them are related.
we should be brothers. We're basically brothers. Everyone's saying it. Everyone's saying we're brothers. They're asking. But I'm actually David's dad.
Gosh.
Got him. So why don't you just talk about what that process is like and what are some of the pros and cons, or, just kind of how you have it laid out here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just talk a little bit about it.
Well, I think for us, it's nice because it helps share the workload and like the responsibility of an entire project can be pretty weighty if you haven't done it before. And so having someone to kind of split the task, share the weight in a sense is pretty nice. But also think that just creatively we're able to bounce ideas off of each other, and we're not typically like one will overpower the other. We actually genuinely like to listen to the idea, and then if we have another idea to make it better, it just kind of seems like we keep refining it and getting it to like the next level. And so that's been nice too. But as far as like our uniqueness to it is, I provide strengths in certain areas and they may cover some of your weaker areas, and then you have big strengths that cover a lot of my weaker areas. And so they just kind of naturally complement each other.
Yeah, it goes back to that thing. What is that acronym? Is it CREATE or?
It was CARE.
Yeah, so there's the creator, refiner, advancer.
Creator, advancer,
Every
refiner.
time I want to make it create. I want the acronym to be create. But that applies to so many things. And maybe do a little graphic, put the acronym, do maybe some animation. But most people, I think, are one or two of those things. Maybe someone's like, I'm all of those, but like everyone's just gifted differently. And especially when it comes to creative stuff is just so difficult sometimes if you have to carry the load by yourself. And I would say that probably even the most famous directors like Christopher Nolan or, I can't think of another director. Who's the guy that did Avatar? James Cameron. Even those guys, the guys that are the most famous, they're successful. I guarantee you they have collaborators in their circle, maybe not co-directing with them, but like they're able to speak into like their creative decisions and like help them bounce off ideas with each other. I think the difference for us is we've both just kind of committed that like we're a partnership and like we share equal responsibility for the success and the failure of every idea. We both bring an equal contribution to the creative, to the story. And we do just listen to each other, like you were saying. And I think the thing about, you know, like I'm not as good as an advancer, and that's probably one of your best traits as a director and a producer is advancing a project, because sometimes I get bogged down with the refinement and the creative. And so those two things separately, it's difficult if you're pushing a project too through fast and it's not ready, but it's also difficult if you're stuck on a project for 8 months and it never gets finished. So it's like if you put those things together, you can have a project that's very refined and it's on time. So especially with the documentary, we were kind of hitting all over the place with like what our strengths were, but I think it really benefited us to be able to do it that way.
Yeah, well, especially because our background, we do more client work and indie stuff, and so you have to wear 1,000 hats when you're in small budget productions like that. And so it's rare that we get a chance to actually just focus on directing from a creative standpoint. But I think when that comes, and we got a glimpse of that with the documentary, where we were just totally focused on the story, and all the crew we were working with was just like awesome, so we didn't have to worry about anything like that, able to let go, let them handle all that stuff, and then we can just focus on who we were interviewing and the story we were trying to create. But you know, it's nice, like even in those moments of during an interview, like so specifically for our doc, we both weren't interviewing the person, right? Caleb usually sat down and spoke to him face to face, and
I'm just
I would just be in
imagining
the
if we were
background.
both in the interview and you're just sitting in my lap and we were both asking the person questions, and they're like, "What is this?" And you're like, "Tell us about your story." Yeah, I would usually, since I'm the yapper, I would direct the questioning, and then David would be texting me like, "Ask this and this and this and this." It's like David's thinking of things, but I'd say that worked out pretty well, because it is kind of like a conversation, and you can't have two people, like a 3-person conversation with a one-on-one interview. So
Yeah, well, the person being interviewed, they'll get confused and they're like, "Who am I talking to?" And it
they'll
can
just
kinda-
leave.
Yeah, they'll just walk out.
But I think for us, that definitely is our target, is, you know, just elevating and keep stepping up and get to a place where we can work on a project where we are just focused on the directing side, just the creative, and we can work with a team of collaborators with a big enough budget to where we're just trusting the people that we've brought alongside us to tell this story, and we can focus on this one thing. And so that's kind of the target we're heading for. And I think on a documentary, it's probably kind of crazy anyways, because it's you're moving quick, like the story's changing, you're trying to find it. But like with narrative work and scripted work, it's probably easier to carve out that space as directors. And so that's where we want to head. What else you got?
What are some of the struggles we ran into? Like, do we ever butt heads creatively?
I would say probably areas where we struggle is where we just have a difference of opinion on how something should be executed, or it's never like, should we do this lighting style, and we're arguing about that, or it's like it's usually me trying to refine something more and David trying to advance something. Or in the story, when we're just trying to figure out the story, sometimes you just gotta debate and a little bit and like compromise things, and that just happens when you're trying to tell. But if you're saying, I don't think we should do this, you have to be willing to bring something else to the table to not replace that, but to kind of present your side of it. Like, I don't think we should do this because I think we should do this. You can't just say, you know, I don't like that, we shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Bring an umbrella to the brainstorm.
Yes. Yes.
And that's what I appreciate about us working together, because I've worked with other people before where you try and collaborate and share ideas to the project, but the other person is just so determined to say no and disagree with you that even if you have a good idea and they believe it's a good idea, there's like this blocking of like, no, I'm just not going to let you have any type of control creatively over it. I've never had that problem with you. Like sometimes, like when I have a good idea and I share it with Caleb, he is usually like, oh my gosh, that's a great idea. And vice versa. He'll have an idea, and if it's pretty fleshed out, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Because the thing is, I think we hold characteristics of all of the CARE Act. Like we're both creative. We're both, well, maybe I'm just the advancer.
The CARE Act, the Affordable Care Act.
And then we both are refiners.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we
Executors.
executors, we both can do that as well. Like some people, it's just like, I like to get ahead of it, but I also love to procrastinate. And
Yeah.
when you get up close to a deadline, then you're like, okay, let's get it done. But
Yeah, I think in creative work is where some of this stuff is most notable, because like if you're working in an office and you have to do a spreadsheet of some company thing, like you don't have to spend 3 months refining that. I mean, I guess you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like that's kind of like cut and dry, but like when I was working by myself and telling stories and film and stuff, you would just keep refining it, and there is that tendency, something can always be better. Like you can work on a video, you can work on a film, and you can just keep making it better and keep carving it and just keep refining. But the problem is you can do that forever, but it will never be finished. And so eventually you do have to get to that point where you are just ready to like execute it and get it out there and just say, this thing is done. This is the best possible version I can make, while also wanting to just get it out there at this deadline. And so I think that's a place where we help, because if I'm like really roped into something, you're like, let's just set a deadline for this, even if it's not something that a client's asking for. And so, yeah, that's, especially in film, I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges is you can always spend more time smoothing the edges and refining, but eventually you do have to get it out there. And it's so much harder when there is no client telling you this is the deadline. It's, you have to create it. So
yeah. We've talked about what we've done in the past with, client projects and our documentary, but like, I think moving forward, like we've both worked on an indie narrative film, but we weren't directing it or kind of had any type of control over the project. And so I know that's the space we want to eventually be in. Like we're hoping that from the success of our documentary, we can, go on to break into more of the narrative scripted content. And when we get there, like imagining our directing styles together in more of a, because it's so different from a documentary director to a narrative piece. That's going to be a whole new ball game, because now you're incorporating a third wheel, which is the actors.
yeah.
And I mean, you can say the fourth wheel, which is the script too. So it's like balancing the script, the actors, and then our directing style to that. Like, how do you think that'll work?
It'll be a completely different process, probably from pre-production all the way through post. It'll just be different, not in a bad way, but it's a different kind of project. It's like how you communicate with the talent and how you give them notes and how you communicate the story to them as two people telling one person, or so the process will just be different. But I just think it's something we will learn how to do. Obviously the great directors do it, so
Yeah.
we're basically brothers, so we'll figure it out. But yeah, that's kind of our process as how we work as a directing duo, and I would say like as a producer duo. We wear so many hats, but just the creative process as a partnership, it always makes it a little easier. And I would say even if you're not working as a duo with someone, just have collaborators around you that you can bounce things off of, and that you can help carry the creative load with you. Because it's really hard to do it alone. I've done it alone, and it's not fun. You will get burned out. So that's all we have on this episode. If you guys enjoyed this, like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you think, and we'll see you guys in the next one.